Today I'm going to be talking about the books that I recommend for summer as well as my summer TBR. If you hear any fireworks in the background, that is because it is the 4th of July and I felt like this was the peak time to film for summer. So without further ado, let's get into all my summer recs. First is going to be Just for the Summer. This is by far one of my favorite summer romance books that I've ever read. This is actually a part of an interconnected standalone series, starting with Part of Your World and then Yours Truly. I do recommend reading those first just for the most emotional impact, but if you don't want to and you just want the summer book, this one is still good without those. But this follows Justin and Emma, and they both believe that they have a curse on themselves, that basically anybody that is with them and breaks up with them, their subsequent partner ends up being the one or the person that they marry or anything like that. And they end up actually having this chat on Reddit where they're talking about we have a similar curse. They comment on each other's posts and they go back and forth and then decide, hey, when we're together, why don't we go on a date, kiss, break up, and this will cancel out our curses. And of course, that sounds like such a ludicrous idea, but they both believe that this will really help them find the person that's going to be the love of their life, the one. This book was so great. It's very emotional. It's very real. I really love a lot of Abby Jimenez's characters, and Justin by far is one of my favorites. I feel like Emma too is very relatable. There are a lot of issues that she's going on or she's going through in this story, and you're on a journey with really the both of them, and the two of them learning that really and truly it's not them that was a problem. The people that they were with, they just didn't mesh, and then they come to realize that, maybe like we really do like each other more than we believe. Maybe they just weren't the one. And why I say that I think that you should read the other two is because there's something that happens that I feel like you get more emotional impact in the story if you have read the previous one. And then there's also like some cameos and stuff throughout all the stories. The Honeymooners, which was one of the first books that I ever read by Christina Lauren. This, again, the cover just speaks summer, and this is about an FMC whose twin ends up getting married, and the entire wedding party ends up getting food poisoning. The only people that don't is her and the MMC. And since these people are getting married, they're ultimately going to go on a honeymoon. And since this honeymoon has already been paid for and only two people in the wedding party didn't get sick, they decide that they're going to take advantage of this and go on this honeymoon to Hawaii. But the kick is that these two that are going cannot stand each other. They do not like each other whatsoever. But they believe that they should because, again, it's paid for. And as you're going throughout this book, you start learning that a lot of these issues that they had with each other were misunderstandings, or maybe they really like each other more than they're letting on. There are just issues that are basically stacking upon each other constantly that just led to them disliking each other. I remember when I read this 3 years ago, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so good. This still has that quintessential Christina Lauren humor where the FMC is a little weird. The guy is somebody that's really pining after her, and they learn a lot about each other throughout the story. You start to see again that they're not who they think the other person is. It's just fun. I definitely need to honestly reread this. It's been so long, but I just remember really loving it. One of my favorites. Again, I probably read this 4 years ago. I love the FMC Piper. She is basically the socialite that lives in LA, and one day her dad decides that, I've had enough of you basically dragging your name through the tabloids, doing anything that you want, getting in trouble, and me bailing you out all the time. You don't have responsibility. You don't have anything that is making you do the right thing. So I'm going to send you to this town basically where all they do is fish and they have a livelihood if that's what they do, and I'm going to put you to work. She goes to this town, and of course she is looking at it and saying, like, this is weird. Like, why would anybody willingly live here? I don't like this. Like, why is my dad doing this to me? And then she meets the MMC, Brendan, who is a grumpy fisher who has lived in this town his entire life, and all he knows is fishing and this lifestyle. And when she comes in and decides that she's going to refurbish the tavern that he like stays in or frequents, he is not having it. He is so upset that this rich girl is coming in and trying to make this something that would be popular in LA, and he knows that since this is a fishing town and a lot of the people are fishermen or folks that deal with these types of people every day, that this is not something they're going to like. But of course he comes to learn that there's way more to Piper, and that Piper isn't just this airhead blonde socialite that doesn't have any substance to her. There really is more to her. And throughout the story, again, she has a really good character arc. I feel like she really starts to realize that there's more to life than shopping and posting on social media and getting likes. And Brenda starts to realize that there's more to than just living in a small town, and that's all that there is. Their dynamic, I remember being really fun. I remember really thinking that Piper was very spunky and somebody that would not take anything from anybody. I thought she was great. I love the townspeople. This is very much a small town that everybody knows everybody, and it's just so cute. The 7 Year Slip. I actually read this last August and I loved it. I think about it a lot. I listened to parts of the audiobook for this, and I also read it. It's just fun. I feel like you can really read this any time of the year, but since I read it in August, I would say in the summer. But this is about Clementine, and Clementine, in the beginning of the story, you find out that something tragic happened in her life that really has put her in a rut, and it's made her say, like, what do I really want to do with my life? Is what I'm currently doing worth my time? She basically had an aunt that ends up passing away. You don't really know what happened, but she leaves her apartment in New York, I want to say, and tells her, hey, this is a magical apartment. It goes in the past, in the future. You don't really know what's going on. But whenever she would tell her these stories as a child, Clementine was like, yeah, my aunt is just making this up. She's trying to be funny. Like, I don't understand what you're saying. And then one day she comes home from her job, and when she walks in, there's this guy sitting at the table, and she's like, who are you? He said, like, this is my apartment. Who are you? And she's like, no, it's not. This is my apartment. And then when she's looking, there are things that are in the apartment telling her, oh my gosh, this is 7 years in the, I want to say in the future, and, or in the past, 7 years in the past, and this guy is living in this apartment, and she's wondering, like, who he is, why is he here, and you just kind of go from there. I feel like this was such a good one. This deals with grief, this is self-discovery, this deals with right person, wrong time, all of those, like, really interesting tropes, and I feel like Ashley Poston just did such a good job fleshing out the story and really having a story that's very unique. I had not read a story that dealt with magical realism before, and I also had not read a story that dealt with grief the way that this did, and just the way that her aunt really meant so much to her, and the way that that fully impacted her and really just made her reassess her life once this happened. I thought that the writing in this was really, really good. It really hit me. It made me cry. It made me happy. It made me joyous. It made me so many emotions. I just felt like it was really good, and it's so much fun. I feel like really you could pick up any Ashley Poston book in the summer and it's gonna hit. Next we have Summer in the City by Alex Astor, which is also set in New York. I read this also last August. Are we sensing a theme? And I just really love this. This was originally a book I wasn't even going to pick up, but I was feeling a summer romance and I picked it up and I actually really loved it. Elle, the female main character, I honestly relate to pretty heavily. From what I remember, she was an overthinker, somebody that really like thought about everything that somebody said and would run with it and would stick with the situation that maybe had happened previously in her life, and when she'd meet up with this person, it still was very much present in her mind and maybe not theirs. But basically Elle is a screenwriter who is living in New York. She is living in this apartment that is her sister's, and her sister is not currently there. But whenever she is leaving one day, she runs into this guy that lives next door. He is a billionaire, and lo and behold, she actually knows this guy. She goes to talk to him, and he's like, there's no recognition on his face, and she's so upset because she remembers him. They hooked up 2 years previously, and she has just remembered this instance, and since then has not liked him. So you're going throughout the story, and basically in this screen, right, Elle is trying to find all these summer things that she could talk about in it. She's exploring New York with the MMC and is just trying to find inspiration because she's having writer's block, and she feels like the only way to sit there and get over that is to have a bucket list and to find things that are going to bring her inspiration for this playwright. I really, really like this. I feel like there were so many cool elements in this story. A lot of really cool things that are in New York, so like Central Park and a lot of those main sites that people go to see whenever they tour New York. It was really fun to see that within this book. You could tell that Alex Astor was definitely putting those in there to immerse you within the story. I felt like Elle had a really great character arc, and again, I could see myself so heavily in her that anything that she was talking about, like, oh, I could heavily relate. This is how I would react to the situation. And I felt like really and truly her gripe with the MMC to me didn't honestly make sense. It was so long ago, and once you learn what it is and really who he is as a main male character, he's the sweetest, most caring, giving person. and she really just mistook what happened between them. So I would just say don't let that dissuade you from reading this book. Everything else in this is really good. The backdrop of it is really fun. It really is just peak summer. And we have another one that I read last summer, Our Darkest Summer. I got this because I actually saw the author sponsored this, I want to say on her Instagram. And when I saw this cover, it just is so much fun. It was giving like summer camp or like lake house, and maybe there's like a murder mystery going on or stalker vibes. Just it was so interesting. So I read this. I read this pretty quickly. I really liked it. There's mixed media within this. There is a lot of clues that are left throughout this because you have two characters that are staying at this house on the lake, and they're basically investigating this true crime case that happened 10 years ago, and it's a cold case. That's basically all I'm going to say. I feel like you could go into this pretty blind and pick up pretty quickly what is going on. The story was just fun. Honestly, I feel like anybody could read it. It's a quick read. Even though it's thick, honestly, it didn't take me long. I think I read it in a day, day and a half maybe. It's a lot of fun. Better than the movies. Is not inherently summer, but I actually just reread this book and then read nothing like the movies. Again, I feel like you can read this book whenever, but I feel like the vibes give summer. This is about Liz, and Liz is a hopeless romantic that loves rom-coms, and basically that is like her whole personality is meet cutes and how can I get this guy to notice me and dressing up and everything. And I just feel like it's so fun to see a character that is in high school that is their vibe. I'm a huge rom-com lover, hopeless romantic, and I feel like I could relate to some of the things that she was going through in the story. But you're in the story with Liz, and Liz has this big thing that she wants to do in her senior year, and that is to go to prom with the guy of her dreams. She doesn't know that the guy of her dreams has moved back to her hometown, but when he does and she sees him in the hallway, she literally freaks out. She decides that that's going to be my date, but how do I get him to notice me? She propositions Wes, who's her next door neighbor, who she has all of these like weird fights and like things going on with, and says like, hey, can you be my fake boyfriend so I can get this other guy to notice me? He says yes, and they proceed to just basically do the most outlandish things to get this guy to notice Liz and to end up asking her out to prom. And you go throughout the story basically like learning more about Liz, Wes, a lot of their people in their friend group. It's just really fun. I feel like it's a good like testament to like people that love rom-coms, and also people that, you know, have ever had that high school experience where you have this crush and you're trying to get their attention, and then somebody else walks in and you never really thought of them as a love interest or a prospect, and then you see there's more to them. It's so cool. So if you pick this one up and you love it, honestly, I know nothing like the movies has very controversial opinions, but I loved it. I read it right after I read this book and I thought it was good. It just is like a second chance romance, and it deals with a different storyline, obviously. So if you like it, I would say give it a shot. But if you've seen reviews that like dissuade you from doing it, I would just read Better Than the Movies, because this one definitely is so much fun. You can read it so quickly. It immerses you into the story easily, and there are also like these quotes at the very beginning of every chapter that literally have something from a movie. So that one was Sweet Home Alabama, and it literally said nobody finds their soulmate when they're 10. I mean, where's the fun in that, right? And you know, you just think about Reese Witherspoon, and I'm like, I love seeing those quotes. As somebody that, again, is a rom-com lover, I feel like it was cool to see Lynn Painter just tie those to each chapter. And then we have the Rebel Blue Ranch series. I have read all 4 of these. My favorite in this is going to be Lost and Lassoed. It's so good. But I feel like these are great too if you have not read these yet. Binge these in the summer, because they all kind of have like a summer vibe on the front of the covers. I know that everybody likes actually a different story within these, but the first one is going to be Done and Dusted. This is about Emmy. She is I want to say a bull rider that gets in an accident and has to come back to her hometown, and basically doesn't want to tell anybody like why she's having these issues trying to go back and be on the circuit. She runs into this guy that is her brother's childhood best friend that she's kind of had a crush on, and basically he's working with her to rehabilitate to get back to bull riding, if I'm remembering correctly. This has been a while. I really actually like this one. I read this in a day and a half. I feel like it's fun. Then you have Switch and Saddle, which is about Emmy's brother, and then you have a house renovator This was not my favorite. I felt like it was very insta-lusty, but the vibes were still good. I feel like if you've read in the series, or if you even start with Done and Dusted, I would continue on. Just know that this one isn't as good, but it does have a lot of home renovation in it. You do get to see the characters from the previous book and people that are going to come up later on in the series. And then my favorite, which is Lost and Lassa. This is about Teddy and Gus. This is a single dad nanny romance. This just has some of the greatest banter that I've read in a book in a long time. I feel like the beat that these two had went on for a good portion of the book, and honestly the reasons like why they weren't liking each other in their minds were valid, and I feel like they could back it up, and the progression of their relationship wasn't just night and day to where, oh, I think you're attractive, and all of a sudden I'm going to forget everything that you've ever done to me. No, no. Those two would remember what the other person did and then said, maybe I should assess this and really decide, is this something that I should be holding over them anymore? The kid, and this is so adorable. I really, really love her. I love her and Teddy's relationship. I think it's so great. And just the natural progression of this entire story was amazing. And last, we have Wild and Wrangled. This is about this is Gus's, not ex-wife, but like his daughter's mom. And then you have Dusty, which is another character that pops up in this. This was actually my least favorite of the series, and I expected it to be one of my favorites. I just felt like they didn't really have a good connection within the story. I felt like Dusty very heavily loved Camille, and Camille just seemed like she was kind of going for him because he was there, and Dusty had really liked her for a long time. It just, again, wasn't my favorite. I did love seeing, again, like cameos of the other characters. I felt like it was really good. I enjoyed it. I would say this is definitely a fun series to pick up in the summer if you have not read any of these books yet, or if you have not finished the series, because, again, the covers really and truly just kind of give, like, that summer vibe. They have that, like, almost summer sunset, if you will, a progression. And they're quick, easy reads. I believe they're all under, like, 300, 350 pages, so you can knock them out pretty fast. And then one of my favorites that I just read was The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I feel like this book was everywhere 2 summers ago, and this summer I finally decided to pick it up. This was so much fun. This is about our FMC, Anna, and Anna basically makes this deal with this guy named Liam in college to get subsidized housing, where the way that they can do that is if they're married. They get married to get this housing, and then at the end of the semester, they decide, hey, we're going to get a divorce, and we're going to go our separate ways. You then fast forward 3 years. Anna comes home. She just got fired from her job. She's down on her luck. She's pigging out. She's having, basically like an existential crisis. She then hears a knock at the door, and she goes, and she's just like, what does this person want? Maybe I'm going to get my job back. When she opens the door, lo and behold, there's Liam. And Liam says, hey, remember me? I'm your husband. And she's like, what? No, you're not. We're divorced. He's like, no, funny thing is we're actually not. And, like, can I come in? So he comes in and he tells her basically, you never signed divorce papers. That was all a farce. I am still with you. We're married. I know that that's very weird, but I need you to come with me to a destination wedding for my sister, because I told my parents that I'm still married to somebody and they want to meet you. Yay. And she's just like, okay. This was just so much fun. This is honestly just like something that if you were to read it, the wealth that these people have, so Liam's family, is actually astronomical. It's crazy. Some of them are very out of touch with the reality. Some of them are very much people where you're like, oh, you can tell that you're rich and you just think that there's nothing else in the world. But I really did love this because I think that Anna, the female main character, was such good comedic relief. I felt like she was so fun and lively and just very much the definition of summer. I loved where this was set. I thought that the backdrop was amazing. I love that you're getting to meet different people in his family, and some people in his family, like I said, were very much out of touch with reality, and then there are other people in his family that were really sweet and understanding, and we're very much just like trying to have a good time at this wedding. And this just keeps going. Basically, you're just following them throughout the story and the progression of their relationship and their progression with the family. There's drama, but there's also a lot of like very, very sweet moments, and I feel like it's just one of the perfect books to pick up in summer. And another one that I picked up was Dolly All the Time. This was my first Annabelle Monaghan book. I really, really liked it. This is about Dolly, who is a single mom. She basically is spending the summer in Rhode Island at her dad's house, trying to help him like repair it and help him out at their local like fish spot that they own. And Dolly very much is a caregiver. She has felt like her entire life since their mom has left that she has been taking care of her younger brother, her younger sister, and her dad. And that really nobody is helping her out, but that's the role that she took on. And I love what Annabelle said in the very beginning of the book. Basically, this is for the people that are caregivers, which that is me and my family. I'm the oldest sister, and I just feel very much like that is my role. I felt very seen by her, and a lot of things that she was going on I could heavily relate to. I was like, yes, I understand what that feels like, you feeling like you can't really ask for help, or that things are put on you, and that maybe people are not realizing how often they're doing that. But it was really good. I enjoyed her as an FMC. She very much also had a very good character arc and kind of learned to start just dividing those responsibilities amongst her siblings and her family and other people, and starting to rely on them. She also got very much into a point where she felt like she couldn't divulge any stressors that were going on, but she learned to do that. And then basically throughout the story, you're following her and Stuart, which is our MMC. And Stuart's family basically has this entire town named after them. They're very rich. And Stuart, in the beginning of the story, ends up having his fiance cheat on him publicly, and basically is just like being dragged through the tabloids. And one day Dolly is walking around and sees that he has a flat tire, decides to help him. A tabloid takes a picture of them and says, oh, look at Stuart teaching this lady how to fix her tire. And it just kind of spirals from there. This again was fun. It had a good summer backdrop. It's set in Rhode Island. Like I said, I really, really like that. I feel like you could definitely get like the coastal sea vibes, and just seeing again the progression of both these characters' relationship in the story was really great. And it definitely makes me want to read more Annabelle Monaghan books. She's actually going to be in some of my summer books that I want to read. And then the last one that I'm going to recommend is yet another one that I just read called The X-Files. This one, I feel like honestly you could read in spring or summer, but again I read it in summer, so I'm recommending it for now. This is about Georgia, and Georgia is basically the best woman to her best friend Adam. And Adam also has another best friend that Georgia used to go out with named Eli. Eli and Georgia are not on the best of terms, but they have basically told Adam that since they have broken up, we still get along, we still have a good relationship, you know, like you don't have to worry about anything that's going on with us. It won't be awkward, but that's not the case. They just present this front that we like each other, we get along, we want to make sure that your wedding basically goes off without a hitch. Throughout the story, you see that that is not necessarily the case. Adam kind of is very much going through thinking that his wedding is cursed. Anything that can happen that would go wrong does happen, and it very much is stressing him out and making him feel like, oh, like I can't handle any of these situations. So he pretty much puts that task on Georgia, and as Georgia is working through these tasks, Eli says, no, like I want to be more reliable. I want Adam to know that like I'm here for him, I can support him. Will you give me these tasks? And she is very much a type A list person, wants to do everything by the book, wants to follow a checklist. And Eli is very much type B in that he's like a go with the flow. When it gets done, it gets done. As long as we complete this task, it's fine. Seeing their dynamic was so interesting because they had known each other for so long. They dated for a while. They didn't end up on the best of terms, but they are very much trying to be there for their friend and not take away from this very big moment that he's having in their life. This was another one where the progression of the story was really good. I loved that this was really just in Georgia's head and her POV, and seeing the way that she felt about Adam and she felt about Eli and all of her subsequent friendships, and just what that was doing to her as a person, and her trying to also really go on like a self-discovery journey. She is in a job where she really, really loves it. She's very comfortable, and she gets told like right before she goes off to this wedding with her friends that something is going down in the company, and basically she's not going to have a job there anymore. And so this is weighing very heavily on her as she is doing these tasks. And while she's doing these tasks, she's basically trying to find a way in her mind to be useful to Adam, and for him to feel like, hey, you can rely on me, I'm here for you. But again, I really love this. I feel like this is another one where the writing was really good, the relationships were really good. I had such a fun time with it. I feel like it's just again another fun romance read to read in the summer. And then these are some books that I want to read this summer. Some of those that I already mentioned, so The X-Files, Dolly All the Time, and The Paradise Problem were actually already on my summer TBR and I completed it. Another one is currently on my July TBR, and that is One Golden Summer. I watched every summer after, like everybody else and their mother. Honestly, I didn't really like it, but that is coming from somebody that didn't read the book and then subsequently watched reviews on people that read the book and said it was nothing like the show. But I watched the show that I could read One Golden Summer, and I just heard that this is such a good story. It's a redemption arc for Charlie Floyd, which is the main male character in the story. And in the first story, you're following his brother. I actually did really like Charlie and Every Summer After. I feel like you could tell that there are issues going on, but I feel like there was obvious potential for this character, and it just made me excited to read a story. This is one where I feel like it's gonna be good. Honestly, I've not heard one bad thing about this book at all. It makes me really excited to pick it up. And then we have The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez, which is the second book to Say You'll Remember Me. I read that book last year and I actually really liked it. I do know that this is another one that people are not the biggest fan of. I know that this follows Larissa, and Larissa one day is going home from a concert, I believe, and she basically gets in the car with one guy, and this guy ends up being her boyfriend, but the boyfriend's best friend likes her, and it's just apparently messy. I know that a lot of people said the way that the situation played out is not the best way that it could have been handled, but I really love Abby Jimenez, and this just has fireworks on the cover, and again, I just feel like it gives summer, and I want to at least test it out for myself and see whether or not I like it. And then Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a book that I think I've been eyeing for honestly upwards of almost 4 years. I have just always seen this cover and thought again that it just screams summer. And I actually just read one of my first fiction books recently, and it's been like a long time, but I really loved it. And this is making me want to pick this book up. I know this is about some kids that their dad is like this famous rock star, and basically every summer they throw this huge party on the beach at their house, and it tells you on the back in the beginning of the story, you know that by the end of the night their mansion or house burns down, and you go back like in the past 24 hours and go throughout the entire day learning what happens. This just sounds so interesting because it has that underlying mystery element. You know, it has a famous parent where they're involved in the lives, and then you have, I believe it's 4 siblings, and I think you follow everything that's going on with the 4 of them during this, and they each have a different personality and just the way that they like form a puzzle, I guess, if you want, in this family. And I just like the family dynamics, and just seeing what they're doing at this party and like what's actually going on is just going to be so interesting. Honestly, it's just the cover, like the cover speaks to me so much. I just feel like I really want to check that out. And then 2 Annabelle Monaghan books, Same Time Next Summer and Summer Romance. I know one of them, and I believe it's Summer Romance, is about a lady that just got divorced, and her mom had like previously died like right before that, and basically she is just restarting her life. She has 2 kids, I want to say, and she decides that I'm just going to have this fling with this guy, hence a summer romance, and you're basically just following her and seeing like what it is being in a new relationship, following a relationship that you have been in for a long time. I feel like that's such an interesting view and a concept to follow. I feel like it's going to be really fun, and I just knew that again I wanted to read more Annabelle Monaghan books, and all her books give very much summer, so I'm excited about that. And then Same Time Next Summer, I think this one is about a girl that's with her fiance, and basically one of her like childhood exes comes back, and she is trying to decide whether or not she wants to be with her fiance or him, I think. I'm not exactly positive. I just know that this is again another summer romance that I'm interested in by her. I know that if I'm remembering correctly, this is a lot of people's least favorite, again because it is that trope of you are already with somebody and then somebody else comes into the picture, kind of like The Night We Met. But I really did like Annabelle Monaghan's book, or her book and her writing, and I want to try to check out as many by her as possible this summer, so this one's also on there. So Summer Do Us Part, which I actually have started this book. This is about Scotty, and Scotty is this like mid 20-year-old that is working in a like golfing job where basically they're doing like social media posts and things along it. And she is just essentially talking about how all these guys in the office very much give like frat bro, if you will, and that she feels like they very much have the culture of it's guys and then she's just there and she's the only girl. I know that they end up having a board meeting, and in this board meeting her boss comes, and her boss is the only other female in the office, and she is just trying to heavily relate to her as much as possible, like girl to girl. She decides to tell her that, hey, I'm married, because everybody else in this office is married and she feels like she's left out. And then she says, but like we're going through these like troubling times and we're just trying to work on our relationship. And her boss decides to tell her that her husband is this like guru that helps couples that are going through problems and like working through their issues. And it is just honestly freaking hilarious. This was a book that came out last year that, again, I just saw a lot of people reading that really loved it. They're saying like how funny it is, how goofy, how much fun you can have in it. And from where I am now, I'm having such a good time in this. I think it's hilarious. I really like Megan Quinn's writing and her sense of humor. There have been just so many things that have happened in it where I am now, where they're at like this camp for couples that are just so absolutely outrageous. It gives kind of like, if you've ever seen Grown Ups, it kind of gives that, but like big kids at like a summer camp. It is just so absolutely ridiculous, but I really love it. I think it's funny, and it's just one that I'm going to end up continuing. Not safe for work. I got this one from Barnes& Noble. The cover just to me honestly screamed summer. I know this is about an FMC that is a woman of color that's in this engineering field, and basically the guy that she has problems with, that's her rival if she will, is the son of the founder or the CEO of this company, and again they just don't get along. Then you're basically just following along as they end up going on this trip to, I believe it's Hawaii, for like a company trip. And again, as any romance goes, they realize that there's way more underneath the surface of these subsequent characters, and they start having a relationship. This one, again, just screams peak summer, and when I read the author's notes, I felt like what the author was talking about was something that I could end up relating to, and just, it was such an interesting thing to see. I feel like it's very much going to be very fun and whimsical and like summer vibes, but also tackling topics that are very important. Then we have Rumors and Whiskeys, which I believe is a romantic suspense. This is the same author that wrote the Bourbon Boys series. I only read the first book in that, but I really did like it. I just saw this, and again, this doesn't necessarily scream summer, but it just looks like it's going to be fun. I just want to read it, honestly. Like, I love the cover. It had, I want to say, like, whiskey on the front. It's called Rumors and Whiskey, so yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But it just looks like it's going to be fun, and I love a good romantic suspense story. And then the last one that's on my summer TBR is The Wild Card, which is the last book in the Vancouver Storm series. This follows the coach and one of the girls that's like a bartender that the team frequents. I am just, again, excited about this book. I feel like it's going to be fun. It's the end of the series, and thus far, I really like the series. I feel like Stephanie Archer's writing is so much fun. I love a good sports romance. I love interconnected standalones, and this is just, like I said, the last one, and I feel like it's time that I finally read this book, because I know she's also coming out with another series next year that I think is a little bit connected to this world, so I want to be able to finish that so that way I can go into that whenever it comes out. So if you stay to the end, I hope you were able to get a good summer rec from the list that I provided. These are just, again, books that I've read that were read either in the summer or that give summer vibes, that were really, really fun, that I felt like would be bingeable or easy to read, or just give you those summer feelings that I hope you're looking for if you clicked on the video. And then the summer recs, again, were just ones that I was looking forward to or that I have already read. And I feel like out of those, the one I'm the most excited for is One Golden Summer, honestly, because I've heard nothing but glowing reviews about it, and I just hope that it's going to live up to that hype.